Welcome to another episode of Going the Distance with Go Long. I'm Jill Consor Beck, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the scariest moments of my life that happened 10 years ago today. How have you ever had that moment where your phone buzzes and in an instant, your entire life shatters and resembles into something unrecognizable? That's what happened when a Facebook DM arrived on an otherwise ordinary Monday, and suddenly I was facing the prospect of my husband's brain surgery. Today, I'm sharing the story of Mark's unexpected medical journey that began with a seizure and changed our lives. It's a story about survival, adaptation, and finding the strength to move forward, even when the path isn't clear. It was Monday, April 13th, around 6 p.m. I was about to shut off my phone for a knee treatment when I got the Facebook DM from one of Mark's colleagues. The first words he said when I called were, "Has Mark ever had a seizure before?" My stomach dropped. Thankfully, someone had caught Mark during the seizure, so he didn't hit his head. He was being taken to the hospital by ambulance. I obviously dropped everything and left. At the ER, doctors were puzzled by his lack of symptoms before the seizure. No headaches, no warning signs. But Mark kept complaining about his shoulder pain, not his head. That detail would become more important later on. After a CT scan and a late-night MRI, the radiologist let slip, when he has brain surgery. I felt the blood drain from my face. Later, the neurosurgeon explained that Mark had an epidermoid cyst, essentially a golf ball-sized collection of skin cells that had been growing in his brain for 47 years. I had been texting with a close friend who's an ER doc, and he immediately responded to the diagnosis with, "This is good, this is good. This is the best outcome you can hope for right now. It's a benign tumor." Those words became my lifeline. The morning of the surgery, Wednesday, April 15th, was brutal. Seeing Mark wheeled away at 5:45 a.m., not knowing what would happen next, felt like having my heart extracted. I filled my morning with activities, yoga, PT, errands, anything to keep me from staring at my phone. During yoga class, the studio played Three Little Birds at the end. Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be all right. That song is now permanently linked to that moment. After class, I realized there was construction on my way to the hospital. A woman I barely knew from yoga offered to drive ahead of me and show me the back way of getting there. That small act of kindness carried me through. When they finally wheeled Mark in after 6.5 hours of surgery, I felt pure relief, but also shock. His face was swollen. They'd given him this bizarre haircut, shaving a line across the top of his head. We still laugh about it, but in the moment, it was very jarring. 8 hours earlier, he looked completely normal. The next few days were about survival. Mark had to relearn everything: walk, talk, eat. I slept at the hospital every night. Friends showed up in shifts so I can leave briefly to take a shower, go to yoga, eat some real food. One night, a friend brought a bottle of wine and 2 solo cups. We sat outside the hospital, talking and sipping. That small act of normalcy was exactly what I needed. By day 4, I knew the hospital wasn't helping anymore. I called the doctor and said, "I think we're ready to go." He agreed. That gut call paid off. Within 48 hours of being home, Mark was walking unassisted. In early May, just weeks after brain surgery, Mark insisted we not cancel our anniversary trip to Healdsburg. "We're not missing our annual trip because of my brain surgery," he said. So we went. But his shoulder pain persisted. It had been there since the seizure, but was overshadowed by everything else for obvious reasons. By mid-June, during a PT session, Mark suddenly screamed in pain. We got in to see a shoulder surgeon soon after. The diagnosis? Mark had torn all of the tendons in his shoulder. Way to overachieve, hon. Once shoulder surgery was scheduled, I was actually more anxious about it than I had been about the brain surgery. That first one came so fast, there was no time to spiral, but this time there was space to overthink. Mark had just started feeling independent again, and now we were facing another setback. Day 4 after shoulder surgery was brutal. I'd never seen Mark hurt like that. Watching him struggle just to get comfortable was gut-wrenching. But he recovered, and that summer, he did a lot of walking. He walked to and from work every day as his rehab, and that helped him with his state of mind. After tapering off of anti-seizure medication under the supervision of our neurologist, Mark had another seizure. We had our answer. He'd have to be on that medication for the rest of his life. That meant some real lifestyle changes. No more open water swimming. And we now consider transit access in all of our housing decisions, knowing that he can lose his driving privileges for 6 months after any seizure. During COVID, a new complication arose. Fluid buildup in Mark's brain required installing a shunt. It's now part of his regular neuro checkups, along with monitoring the cyst site. But there's another part of this story I rarely talk about. During those weeks after brain surgery, Mark wasn't himself. There were those moments, things he said to me, the ways he acted, that were unlike the man I married. And here's the kicker. He has absolutely no memory of any of it. That 6 to 8 week period is just gone for him. I made a conscious choice not to address it then. What would have been the point? His brain was healing from major trauma. But emotional debt compounds like a loan shark's interest. By the time we finally started unpacking that period years later in therapy, those moments had calcified. It created this strange paradox where addressing it sooner might have been easier, but it also would have been impossible. Mark couldn't meaningfully engage with something he couldn't remember while he was still dealing with basic memory issues. Finally, during COVID, we engaged in couples therapy, like a lot of people did, where we addressed this issue along with some other issues. These sessions gave us a structured space to talk about those difficult weeks, not to assign blame for behavior that stemmed from brain trauma, but to acknowledge that even though Mark had no memory of certain moments, I had lived through them. They affected me, and those moments made an already challenging time even more difficult. What I learned was that sometimes it's enough just to acknowledge a situation without having it perfectly wrapped up in the end, like a gift wrap box from Tiffany's. Not every difficult experience needs a neat solution or a happy ending. Sometimes just naming it is what allows you to move forward. I wanted to talk about what I learned from this and maybe how it can help you if you're going through something similar. Sometimes there's no ideal solution. You're just trying to survive in advance and get through the day. And sometimes that just means the day and the situation doesn't get worse. Thinking about practicing ruthless prioritization, get clear on what absolutely must get done today and what can wait. Your normal MO of getting it all done can't apply in a crisis situation. Ask yourself, what does good look like? Not great, not perfect, just good. What's a good outcome for today? That framework can help you stay focused on taking the next right step instead of trying to climb the entire mountain. Know who your people are, the ones who will show up with wine and solo cups when you need it most. And focus on those high leverage tasks that only you can do. The rest, accept help or let it go. And please, don't wait to tell the people you love how much they matter to you. Life doesn't give you a heads up before it turns sideways. Through all of this, that's the lesson that sticks with me the most, and something I learned through my experience with 9/11. Thanks for listening to this episode of Going the Distance with Go Long. Go Long is a coaching service for women 40 plus who struggle with autoimmune conditions. We focus on empathy for your struggle, pragmatism for solutions that work for your life, and optimism that you can make the changes you want to make. The coaching is exclusively by text, allowing you not to add another meeting to your already packed schedule. If you're ready for real change that will last, visit golong.me. And remember, it's your life, go the distance, go long.